Dangerous secret. First alien encounter. America in 1953 was in the midst of the Cold War. But the greatest threat facing the U.S. government was not the nuclear race, but something beyond human comprehension. The landing. On the night of February 20th, 1953, a warning system suddenly went off at Edwards Air Force Base. Something hovered in the sky, a huge disk that glowed with a cold blue light. The military raised the alarm, but the order to fire never came. Apparently, it was expected. The next morning, the object descended onto the runway, and two beings emerged from it, tall, thin, with smooth skin and black almond-shaped eyes. They did not speak with their mouths, but a steady voice rang out in the minds of everyone near them. "We come in peace." Eisenhower talks. President Dwight Eisenhower arrived secretly, unobserved, accompanied by a group of scientists and military officers. Among them was Lieutenant Charles Sachs, who had the honor of being present at mankind's first encounter with an extraterrestrial race. The aliens introduced themselves as guardians and offered the U.S. something incredible: technology that could rid the world of disease, give access to inexhaustible energy, and change the very nature of human existence. But in exchange, they demanded something that made the audience go cold. "You must renounce nuclear weapons and all aggression. In return, we will give you a future." Eisenhower, a man of war, knew that this demand was impossible. The USSR already possessed a nuclear bomb, and a U.S. refusal would mean surrendering to the Cold War. The president was silent for a long time, pondering his answer, and then spoke. "The humans aren't ready yet." The aliens looked over and nodded. "Then we will return when humanity has changed. But know this, you are on a path to self-destruction." The negotiations were taped. It was sent to the secret White House archives, but disappeared without a trace a few years later. Those who saw it either disappeared without a trace or their careers ended abruptly. Lieutenant Charles Sachs, one of the few surviving witnesses, wrote a letter shortly before his death in 1982, warning, "They are not gone, they are watching, and one day they will come back for their answer." Dangerous secret, their back strange signal. The year is 1986. 33 years have passed since that fateful encounter at Edwards. The world has changed, but not for the better. The Cold War had reached its peak, and mankind continued to build up its nuclear arsenal. No one remembered the Guardian's offer anymore, until that very night. A secret tracking station in Nevada detected an anomalous signal coming from deep space. It was encoded in the same way as encrypted messages from the U.S. military, but used an unknown language. Decoding led to an eerie discovery. "Time's up, we're coming back." The disappearance of the president. On April 19, 1986, U.S. President Ronald Reagan was urgently evacuated from the White House. Officially, for security reasons because of a possible threat. But unofficially, he was taken to one of the military bases, where those who had not been seen for decades were waiting for him. Reagan was shown classified documents from 1953. Everything was there: a record of the negotiations, a description of the creatures, their demands. He read for a long time, then looked up and asked General Pearson, who was in charge of the operation. "What do they want this time?" The general sighed and handed Reagan the printed signal. There were only 3 words: "Your choice is made." The next day, a strange incident was reported at an Air Force base in Arizona. Eyewitnesses saw several bright lights hovering over the base. Then communication with the facility was cut off. When the military arrived on the scene, there was nothing bodies left of the base. No people, no equipment. It was as if it had been wiped off the face of the earth. On the same day, all nuclear-armed countries had control systems malfunction. The missiles were disarmed by an unknown force. In panic, world leaders gathered for emergency meetings. No one knew what to do. Last warning. The next day, the signal from space was repeated, but this time it was translated in all countries of the world at the same time, in all languages. "You have not obeyed. The time for choice has passed. We will return when you are gone. Since then, UFO sightings have been increasing. They didn't attack, they didn't make contact, they just watched. People wondered, was it a warning or a judgment?